Emily and the Storyteller. It was an important day on the island of Sodor. A new library was going to be open. Everyone was excited. There was going to be a ceremony with a brass band, a red carpet, and boxes of books. All the children and all the grown-ups loved reading books and listening to stories. A famous storyteller was going to tell the children a special story. All the engines wanted to collect a famous storyteller, but Sir Toppinhead chose Emily. Emily was excited. "You must show the famous storyteller the special sights of Sodor," he boomed. Then she could make up a special story for the children. "Make sure she arrives at the grand opening on time." "Yes, sir," whistled Emily. "I'll show her as many sights as I can." Emily puffed over to Nafford Harbor. She wanted to do a good job. Emily arrived at the harbor. She looked up and down, left and right, and all around looking for someone famous. But all she could see was a lady with a notepad and a big box of cookies. "Are you the famous storyteller?" Emily asked. "I like to think so," said the lady. "You must be Emily, the Emerald Engine. Will you please show me the sights of Sodor?" "Of course," tooted Emily happily. So the famous storyteller hopped on Emily's footplate, and Emily puffed away. "Pirate's Cove is not far from here. I shall take you there first," whistled Emily. Pirate's Cove was full of caves and secret tunnels. Legend had it that pirates used to bury their treasure there. "You could make up a jolly good story about pirate treasure," whooshed Emily happily. But on her way there, Emily saw James. James was in trouble. "My coupling rod has snapped, and I'm a guaranteed connection. My passengers have to arrive at Mayfleet Station on time." "I'm sorry," Emily puffed to this famous storyteller. "I cannot take you to Pirate's Cove. I have to help my friend." So Emily buffered up to James and his passenger train and chuffed away. "Thank you, Emily," cried James. Emily arrived at Mayfleet just in time. "The ruined castle is just over the hills," said Emily to the famous storyteller. "Now I will take you there." Emily puffed as fast as she could. The ruined castle had tall turrets and a great big door. The old kings and queens of Sodor used to live there. "You could make up a jolly good story about kings and queens," puffed Emily happily. But on her way there, Emily saw Thomas in a siding. He was looking sad. He was taking flour to the bakery, but his whistle had broken. It wasn't safe to work without it. "I'm sorry," puffed Emily to the famous storyteller. "I cannot take you to the ruined castle. I have to help my friend." So Emily buffered up to Thomas and took him to the bakery. "Thank you, Emily," cried Thomas. Emily arrived at the bakery just in time. Thomas was pleased, and Emily puffed away. "Misty Valley is not far from here," chuffed Emily. "Now I will take you there." She had heard Misty Valley was full of magic. "You could make up a jolly good story about magic." But on her way, Emily saw Percy. Percy was in trouble. A river had flooded its banks. Percy was up to his buffers in water, and his firebox had gone out. I am sorry, whistled Emily to the famous storyteller. I cannot take you to Misty Valley. I have to help my friend. Slowly, Emily jumped into the water. The water came right up to her foot plate. The famous storyteller had to stand on a box of cookies to keep her feet dry. Emily bravely bubbled up to Percy, and she pushed her friend out. Thank you, Emily, cried Percy. By now, it was time to go to the grand opening, and Emily was late. Oh my goodness, whooshed Emily. I haven't had time to show any sights at all. Emily arrived at the new library station. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. We didn't visit any sights, puffed Emily sadly. I had to take James's passengers to Mayfleet Station, Thomas's flower to the bakery, and push Percy out of the water. But this is a wonderful idea for a story, cried the famous storyteller. I shall write all about your day, Emily, and how you helped your friends. She was very excited, and Emily was delighted. The famous storyteller cut the red ribbon in front of the new library. She declared it open. Then the children and the engines all listened as the famous storyteller told them the story of her wonderful adventures with Emily and other engines on the magical island of Sodor. James and the garbage. James is a mixed traffic engine. He is proud of his shiny red paint, and sometimes he likes to show off. One morning, James was very excited. Sir Topham Hatt had told him to work with a new engine. I hope he's smart and useful, he whistled. James met Thomas waiting at the signal. The new engine is waiting for you at the shunting yards, tooted Thomas. I can't wait to meet him, puffed James, and he chuffed away as fast as his boiler could bubble. James steamed into the shunting yards to look for the new engine. He was the dirtiest little engine he had ever seen. Hello, James, wheezed the new engine happily. My name's Whiff, because I'm a bit smelly. You're going to help me collect garbage. James was horrified. Oh, come on then, he sighed. Let's get started. Gordon was talking to Edward and Henry in the siding. When they saw James with Whiff, they laughed. Hello, whistled Whiff. Who's this new engine with you? Said Edward. We smelled you coming for miles, wheezed Gordon grandly. My name's Whiff, whistled Whiff. It suits you, laughed Henry. Oh! James was very embarrassed. He hurried away. Whiff puffed after him. Up the line, James and Whiff passed more engines. When they saw Whiff, they all laughed too. James was tired of being teased. I must get away from Whiff, he huffed. James pumped his pistons. Wait for me, whistled Whiff. But James wasn't going to wait for Whiff. And soon, Whiff was a long way behind. James was glad Whiff had gone. It's not my fault he can't keep up, he huffed. Later, James had to wait for Bertie at the crossing. Where is this new engine? Honked Bertie grandly. He got lost, wheezed James. No, I didn't, whistled Whiff cheerfully. Hello! Oh, sniffed Bertie. Aren't you going to introduce me to your new friend? But James didn't want any more to do with Whiff. He chuffed away as fast as his pistons would pump. Wait for me, whistled Whiff cheerfully. Up ahead, James saw a branch line. Maybe if I puff down here, Whiff won't see me. And Whiff didn't see James. He puffed past on the main line. James chuffed all around Sir Topham-Hatt's railway. He tried to hide from Whiff, but still, everywhere James went, Whiff always found him. In every tunnel and in every siding. At last, James escaped from Whiff. Thank goodness, he wished. Now no one will laugh at me for working with such a smelly engine. Up ahead, James saw Toby. He was very cross. I meant to be taking Dowager Hat to the important lunch, wished Toby. But my way is blocked by all these smelly garbage wagons. Flatten my funnel, steamed James. They were the garbage wagons that James and Whiff should have cleared earlier. Someone will have to move them, sniffed Toby. James knew that was his job. Oh, I suppose I'll have to move them. Ugh, he shuddered. James buffered up. He pulled as hard as he could, but the wagons were much too heavy for him to move on his own. Just then, Gordon chuffed past. Can you help me move these garbage wagons? Tooted James. Me? Snorted Gordon. Certainly not. Can you help me move these garbage wagons, Edward? Peeped James. Ugh, no thank you, wheezed Edward. James was upset. Toby was getting impatient. If Whiff was here now, he'd be happy to help me, James sighed. He wanted to be my friend, but I wasn't kind to him. I must find Whiff and say sorry. James looked high and low for Whiff, but he was nowhere to be seen. Then, at last, he heard Whiff's funny whistle. Hello, James, whistled Whiff cheerfully. I was wondering where you gone to. I'm sorry I ran away from you, puffed James. That's all right, whistled Whiff. I'm just glad you found me. Let's get to work. Toby was getting very impatient. Don't worry, Toby, tooted James. Whiff is here to help now. Toby was surprised. Hello, are you Whiff? He asked. Yes, I am, replied Whiff. And you must be Toby. James and I are going to move these garbage cars for you, so you'll be able to carry on your way in no time. Yes, we're going to move them together, chuffed James. Oh, thank you, James, whistled Whiff. Toby watched as James and Whiff coupled up to the garbage wagons and quickly shunted them away. Toby was very impressed. Whiff is a really useful engine, he ringed. I know, bubbled James happily, and he's my new good friend too.